Hello there, it's Southeast Iowa Union Prep Sports Plus, powered by Fairway, with Andy, Jack, Peter. You guys, our sponsors, everybody. We're here, and we're going to talk a little high school football, a little high school volleyball, cross country, tennis, all sorts of things. And look at me, you're going to stay here, watch this whole thing, and enjoy it. Let's jump into it because I got to go to some tennis later today. High school football week 3. Jack, we're going to start with the game that you were at. Washington Demons. We're looking for their first win of the year with Burlington coming into town. How'd it go, Jack?
I keep the tone going. The mighty Greyhounds were looking for a road win, but the Demons fought them off for a 16-14 victory. No, it was a good game. You could tell just kind of by the vibe at Case Field that they were really excited just to have this team back at home. Obviously, they played Mid-Prairie and Independence on the road to start the year. And so I think everyone was just kind of hyped to have Demon football back at Case Field. And that definitely bled into the game. Washington won 16-14. Really good performance by the Demon defense. No one in particular had standout moments. It was just kind of a collective effort, particularly from the D-line. Cale Williams got a pick on Burlington's first drive. That felt really huge. I think there was a lot of anticipation, a little bit of nerves in the air, and then they go out and get a takeaway on the first drive. That was really big. Liam Roberts got another interception in the end zone when Fairway was driving. That stopped another drive for them. And then they did a really good job against Burlington's running back, Keyshawn Wilden, who had I believe it was 338 yards against Oskaloosa, who, of course, Washington's going to play this week. Uh-huh. He had 338 yards, Andy, on 16 carries. He averaged 23 yards a carry, which is, I think, was a school record for Burlington, and 4 touchdowns. He only had 100 yards and a touchdown on Friday, so that's another credit to Washington's defense. They got that 4th down stop at the end where they optioned it to Wild, and he fumbled it. They lost 8 yards. Had to chuck it up on 4th down and lost. And then it was a really kind of weird game for Washington's offense. They had really nothing going through the air, so they just fed Cale Williams on the ground. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. One of them was a 57-yard touchdown. I talked to him after. He gave all the credit to the O-line, which I do agree. I thought they were good. They definitely won the battle at the line of scrimmage, and I think that was really needed because they struggled passing the ball. So that was really big, and the defense came through. I mean, to get 2 takeaways, that's a coach's dream, obviously. And it was pretty great. This was one of my more fun leads that I've written for a story. You can go check it out in the paper, southeastiowaunion.com. I was down there taking pictures at the start of the 3rd quarter, and Cale Williams he went over to the sideline. He was cramping, and he took a shot. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, Andy, but he goes over to the sidelines and he takes a hit out of a mustard bottle. They just had a mustard bottle on the sidelines. He just sprays it into his mouth. Yeah, apparently that's
work quicker than. Is there potassium in mustard?
I guess apparently they said it works as quick as the pickle juice. That's what I've always heard for cramps. That's what Cale Williams said he usually does. Is the pickle juice. Incorrect. And it was really funny. I talked to him after. He was like, yeah, I'm a pretty picky eater. I don't like mustard. I thought I was going to puke when I did it, but it worked. Yeah. And he came back out there. He got a 1st down on a 3rd and 4 with a run on the next play, and then he scored the touchdown to end the drive. They went on a 99-yard drive after the defense made a goal line stand. There's a lot of really good stuff. You can tell they were relieved, I think, to get a dub. And they did so against a decent Burlington team. So definitely fun to be at. It was a good game to call. If you didn't watch it, you can re-listen to the broadcast on Southeast Iowa Live, YouTube, and Facebook. But yeah, just a great game. I think they probably will want to get the passing game going a little bit more. But if the defense can keep playing like that, Andy, this team can definitely hang with people, whether it's Oskaloosa or the the Class 3A4 teams that they have to play after that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think this was a huge momentum game for them. I would have thought that it had. I think I texted you this after I saw the score. That I would have thought it would have had to have been a shootout because of Burlington's run game, and huge. And then Oskaloosa, if they can go 2-2 into the district, That's Washington always has a little bit of like a mental advantage in that Washington recently has been the second best team in that district. The best team, the SEC team. So just getting a little bit of momentum going into district play would be huge. I'm really curious to see what happens when they play Oskaloosa, and I'll talk about Oskaloosa here in a second. But why don't I jump over to the game I was at, homecoming at Fairfield High School. Jack, you saw Fairfield and Centerville just go crazy with the rushing yards and points, and Fairfield went over 300 yards and lost a week ago. Similar this Friday. They rushed for over 260 yards. Fairfield's offense was basically unstoppable. There weren't very many mistakes at all offensively, but they just could not slow down Mediapolis's running game, especially Parker Holstein, who went for 207 yards and 4 scores for Mediapolis. They just, Meepo had to, when they played Mount Pleasant that first game we saw, which was on on Mount Pleasant Live's broadcast, you saw that they weren't running the ball as easily, and they had to sling the ball around and do a bunch of different stuff. They were able to kind of get into the same form as Fairfield, where they were just able to just lock into the running game and just pound it ahead. Meepo went up 8-6, 7-6 early because Meepo scored immediately. Fairfield scored right after. It was 7-6. Actually, Fairfield's touchdown was on a touchdown pass to Xander Allison, a little sling out to the left side, 10 yards.
Good at those. They when they established the run, those play actions work super great because it's just like they have all three of those guys sell it, and then Voss Richardson just rolls out and he has so much space, and one of them just does like a little post and is wide open every time.
Yeah, it works perfectly because people have to sell out on the run, and not only did that work, but their trickery. Spencer McCready had 2 times where everybody lost where the ball was, and he just dashed across the middle. One was a 49-yard touchdown, one was a 20-yard touchdown. But I mean, basically the play-by-play is Mediapolis touchdown, Fairfield touchdown, Mediapolis touchdown, Fairfield touchdown, and Fairfield did not get an extra point or a 2-point conversion in that first half, and Mediapolis had the ball kind of last in the last couple of minutes, and so with 9 seconds left, so it was 21-18 Meepo, and which they had scored the same amount of touchdowns, and then Mediapolis would get the ball in the third quarter, I believe. Right? Let me think. Yeah, because Fairfield didn't score on their very first things. Anyway, so Mediapolis was going to be up 3 with the ball going into the third quarter, but they scored with 9 seconds left, so they had a 10-point lead. So Fairfield came up with a stop in the first drive of the third, which then they would have had a chance to go ahead. They cut it to 2. It bloomed to 16. And then when it was 16, Xander Allison had a touchdown run with 4 minutes left. They finally got a 2-point conversion. It was 8 again. They had a couple of chances to stop Meepo on the next drive, but Bulldogs just kept getting first downs, and Fairfield never touched the ball again. And another high scoring. Fairfield scored 84 points, and they're 0-3 after those 3 games. But bright side Fairfield fans, they will be going to Knoxville, Iowa this week, and Knoxville gives up a lot of points. Mount Pleasant scored 42 on Knoxville the week before this Friday, and that was the least amount that Knoxville has given up so far. Knoxville has a lot of trouble against the run, so this, hopefully for Fairfield, this will be a way for them to they just need to get the defense in order, and then just go crazy with their running game. So I think they're going to rush for a lot of yards. By the way, Ethan Bisgard, 106 yards and a touchdown. Spencer McCready, 4 carries for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Xander Allison had those rushing and receiving. So a lot of the same guys scoring and all that stuff. But tough. It's tough for Fairfield, but I think it kind of works out that they're playing a team that's struggling this week, to where maybe they can just get a little jump start on the district.
Yeah, they got to break through eventually, right? I mean, it's like Andy, you I think said it before we came on, like your fantasy football team is the highest scoring in your league, but you're 0-2. Like
0-2.
Fairfield, they run their offense so effectively. I think they're really good at what they do, but they just like haven't been able to break through against some of these other teams that's kind of been able to match them offensively. So hopefully they can break through and take care of that.
Yeah, and you know what? Fairfield's schedule, I think Mediapolis is going to be a pretty good team this year. I think they just had a couple. The first two games against Mount Pleasant and Keokuk they had were both close games that they just lost. But I think Fairfield has played just good teams. Centerville had a big win right after beating them. So Fairfield, I think Fairfield is right there with the Washington, Keokuk, Mount Pleasant. I think those teams are all close enough to where we're going to be entering those games later in the year where you're like, anybody can win this game. So, and then speaking of Mount Pleasant, I would say that the Panthers probably had their most impressive week of the season so far. They went down to Oskaloosa. Oskaloosa has played some teams really tough. They almost beat Ottumwa. Who else did Oskaloosa play before Mount Pleasant? Burlington. They lost by 14 to Burlington, which maybe I need to go back and see how that game played out, because this was a 14-point game, 34-20, but it was not a 14-point game in that Mount Pleasant was up 34-6 with 6 minutes left, and Oskaloosa was able to score a couple of late touchdowns in this one. But same exact thing as Mount Pleasant's other two wins, where the stats aren't eye-popping. They just have, they use the power run, a balanced offense. Grayson Walker went 7 for 12 throwing the ball, which I think that's all 3 games. Jack Newman on defense now has interception every single game, three interception streak. But the real star in this one was Isaiah Lang, who had 80 yards receiving and a touchdown and 3.5 sacks for the Mount Pleasant defense. Caleb Shepard got a fumble recovery. As I said, Newman had an interception, which he took back 42 yards. It didn't score, but he took it back 42 yards. And Asa Rose also had an interception. So Mount Pleasant's games are basically just a carbon copy of each other so far. I mean, it's just simple old run the ball, power football, and don't give up any yards on defense. And first time that Mount Pleasant has been 3-0 since 2008. And this week they are hosting Central DeWitt. Central DeWitt won 1 game last year and has not had a season with over 6 wins since like the early 2000s. They are 3-0 with 3 blowout victories, and so I think that I think that it's just right this Friday to where it's going to be I think a lot of Central DeWitt fans are probably going to come down because when a team hasn't won a lot recently and then they start doing this, you get that extra boost of excitement. Now we got a double dose because Central DeWitt's coming in. So that one will be on Mount Pleasant Live. We have a double broadcast this week, Jack.
It'll be exciting. You have to listen to both, get all your fill of I'll say SEC teams for lack of a better term, even though
it's easier to just say SEC.
Yeah. And it'd be interesting to like go back to Oskaloosa, like with Washington. Obviously they lost to Burlington. Washington was able to beat Burlington, but they scored a ton of points in that game against Burlington's defense. I kind of feel like for Washington, if they can kind of establish their tempo or the same like kind of rhythm defensively, like they can probably bottle up Oskaloosa too, but we'll see.
I agree.
Because you go back to that Tumwa game, it was 7-0. So they've played some, kind of drug out like rock fights too, in addition to some high scoring stuff. But yeah, for Mount Pleasant, exciting times for both of them. That'd be pretty wild if they can start out 4-0 and head into district play and keep things rolling like that. They're good. A reminder, when we head into district play, we are 1 week away from Washington Mount Pleasant. So let's say not even if they both win this week, no matter what happens really this week, I think both schools are good enough to get at least that second place in the district. I think Fairfield is too, but it's going to be a intense little battle with these two. I don't think the Mount Pleasant Washington game is obviously one of our biggest football rivalries. I think it's been like 5-ish years since it really had playoff. What do you call it? Where both teams can make the playoffs. Implications.
Playoff. There you go. Playoff implications for both teams, and So I'm excited for that one. I'm excited for district play to get rolling now that we've realized how close these games are going to be. But we also had a lot of small school action. Why don't you run through who are our big small school teams, Jack? I know we were one short because of the New London Highland game, which means we were kind of two short because two of our teams didn't play. But who showed out this week? And I'll pull it up too, so we can just chat.
I have to pull it up.
Well, I'll tell you. I'll just blabber away.
I found it.
You found it?
Yes, I did. Yes. I always have to have them all in front of me because it's just there's so many. Yeah. So you had an all-union matchup with Mid Prairie and Sigourney Keota. That was Mid Prairie's homecoming. They bounced back from a loss against Alburnett really well, 128-0. Shut out Sigourney Keota. So Mid Prairie looks like they're kind of back on track. 4 touchdown passes, 3 touchdown passes actually for Brooks Weber. He looks like he's going to continue to have a really good season. Ike Molyneux for Sigourney Keota's had himself a good year. He had 115 yards on the ground, even though he didn't get in the end zone. Van Buren County beat Cardinal 29-12. That was VBC's first win of the season. 365 rushing yards in that game. Caden Simmons 185 and 2 tutties. Cale Mellinger had 110 yards and a touchdown as well. So good win for VBC. They'll play Danville next. Waco just continues to destroy people. They won 48-7 over. Is HLV/TC the right way to do it, Andy? Is there a better abbreviation for them? Okay.
Yep, it's because they just came together. HLV, which is Hardwick, Ladora, Victor, and then TC, which is Tri-County. They just started playing together. So there are some teams in the state that have so many of their acronyms.
Combinations.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, it was another huge day on the ground for Waco. 367 yards and 6 touchdowns. Hayden Shellman had 152 of those, 2 touchdowns. Niles Reichenbach also over 100 yards. I believe he threw a touchdown pass as well. So a big game for Waco. Winfield and Mount Union, they got their first win of the year. They were down 14-0 in the first quarter. Ended up beating English Valleys 28-26. Nicholas Sparrow, good day at receiving and a rushing touchdown. Cody Milks has been really good for Winfield Mount Union this year. 201 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, and a touchdown rushing. Pekin absolutely rolled Wapello. They've scored Pekin. Andy, do you want to guess how many points they've scored through 3 games? If you didn't read the story, maybe you did.
I'm gonna go with let me. Probably say maybe an average of 100. I'm going to say a total of 132.
160 points through 3 games.
Wow.
Pekin has scored.
Wow. They're going to score. They're going to score so many. Pekin could blow out. Pekin looks really good, and I think Pekin could just be. Pekin could. I don't want to use the U word, but unless one of our other teams can stop them, may have an undefeated season on their hands here.
Oh, the U word has been pulled out for the first time.
If you look on the BC More Matrix rankings, and which is it's like a site it's like the unbiased matrix, so they kind of do a math way, and Pekin's pulling away to where they consider them 20+ point favorites in every single game right now.
They have 5 games left. I'm trying to do.
Yeah. How many points they can score?
How many points they're on track to score?
I'll tell you, they'll play. A couple of our like Van Buren has a good enough defense. They're gonna get slowed down a little bit, I think, by some of the district teams. But no one that size has quite the firepower that Pekin has. Where you can make an argument that they have, a top. In our area, probably a top 4 or 5 running back and big play receivers. There's hardly any teams that I would pick over them. So they're built to score. Last year, Will Adam was our I believe our all union captain. They've lost him and they have not missed a beat. So it reminds me of Mid Prairie, by the way. Little brother steps in and stuff just happens the way it was last year.
I believe I did this right. If they've averaged just over 53 points per game. If they're right at that average for the rest of the year, plus the 160 they've already scored, they'll score roughly 427 points this year. So
they could. By the way, Pekin and Waco are one spot away from the top 10 in the Gazette rankings right now. Mid Prairie's already ranked, but they're both sneaking up there. They're flirting a little bit.
You mentioned the running game. Nolan Glick, 225 yards and 3 touchdowns. They had 315 yards on the ground. Riley Smith, maybe the most efficient quarterback stats I've ever seen in the last 2 weeks. This week he was 8 for 8 for 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had 75 on the ground and a TD. So yeah, it's just a wagon Pekin. And then the last one, Columbus did lose this week. They were actually, unfortunately, if you exclude Sigourney Keota because they were playing another Union area team, they were the only Union area team to lose, Columbus. They were tied 7-7 Danville at half, but they were unable to kind of pull it out in the second half. Decent game. Angel, is it? I'm going to butcher it, Andy. Their senior running back. Is it Angel Inichin? I think it might be how you say his last name.
That's Inichin. I sometimes I say names fast and then I never have to pronounce them totally 100%.
Angel, I apologize if you or anyone you know is listening to this, but you had a very good game. 116 yards and a touchdown, despite the loss for Columbus. So there's the small schools for you.
A couple notes on those small schools. One big one, Waco plays Fremont Mills this week in a non-district. Yep. If they can pull that off, I mean, Waco's looking really strong. And honestly, Winthrop Mount Union might kind of low-key be the third most dangerous team besides Waco and Iowa Valley. If you look at the Winthrop Mount Union schedule, they could go on a big run. And then I'm excited for I think Danville plays Van Buren County this week. Last year, that game was 7-6. And so, and it might rain. And so, if you want an old-fashioned defensive, grinded-out football game and it rains, especially if it rains on Friday night, that could be that's real man's football happening Friday night. I think I said I was on Round Guy Radio and I said that could go. The total for that one could be the low for the year again. We'll see. But I'm excited.
Underrated banger too to end the year. Waco at Iowa Valley. That could be a huge game to end the season for that district.
I think so. Iowa Valley just scored a solid 86 points. They've got one of the best 8-man players I've ever seen in my whole life. Nolan Kriegel is their quarterback. Waco has not.
They did 83-64.
And that was against a good team. That was not against that was Montezuma. That's a good team. Now, Waco is built to at least be able to kind of battle with a team like that. And I think that that could be a game of the century type thing. If both of them can keep winning.
Are they first in 8-man in the Gazette rankings? Iowa Valley.
No, they were. I think. Let me look at the. Look at the new Gazette rankings. Actually, if you pull those up, I'll pull up my rankings because I vote in the Gazette rankings.
They are fourth.
They're fourth. I believe I had them a little higher. I have been putting Iowa Valley here. Hopefully it doesn't tell me if it freezes if I do this, if I load up my email and my thing. Is it freezing?
No.
It's been good. It's been good to me lately.
Yeah, they're fourth.
Here we go.
Yeah, Fremont Mills is 9th, so that is a big game for Waco.
If Waco wins, almost 100% they'll be ranked. Because it just makes sense. They're the next team up, and they're playing a ranked team. You know, usually that's a good formula for being ranked. If I can just look at my email to Jeff Linder, here we go. I want to see where I put Iowa Valley in 8. In 8-man. Oh no, I did have Iowa Valley 4th. Oh, and I have Waco ranked. I didn't have Pekin in mind, but they're very close. Yeah. 8-man is one of those things too, where sometimes there's like 3 or 4 teams that score so many points you can never drop them and have anybody pass them. But
anyway. Believe did Mid Prairie get votes as well?
Mid Prairie is they're up because they were still ranked after their loss. I had them
Not
at
Mid Prairie.
6.
Sorry, I meant Mount Pleasant. My bad.
I don't think they got any votes.
No, they didn't.
Did they get any votes for 3A?
They
Mount Pleasant, by way of playing Central DeWitt, if Mount Pleasant were to win, I could see them getting the thing is, people always pressure me into it because they know I vote in the rankings, and they're like, "What the heck? We have this big win. Why didn't?" And it's like, well, if the entire top 10 wins by 50, then when I'm going through my rankings, I'm not trying to
can't change it.
But obviously, you get to a point in the season where if you keep winning, it happens. But anyway, so yeah, we'll see. We'll see. That's why I like the BC more, because it's not perfect, but because if you run up the score on somebody, you benefit. But I like looking at them to see. And I think Central DeWitt was like 2 in the BC more for 3A, which means if Mount Pleasant were to beat them, they would obviously jump way up. And by the way, that matters for does RPI play any factor in the playoffs? They've changed the playoff system so often, but I think there's a couple of RPI spots after the top 2, and having teams like that in the formula. Anyway, now we're getting into math. Who cares about math? Forget math. The only math we're worrying about is a little bit of sets and spikes and serves, because when we come back, we're going to talk about volleyball. Be back with us.
Introducing Hy-Vee Market Grill, where every meal is a delight. Start your day with our mouthwatering breakfast options and savor flavorful lunches with friends and family. Cap off your day with our delectable dinners. Hy-Vee Market Grill, where every moment is delicious.
The Connie and Amanda team is dedicated to giving back to our community by actively engaging with our clients, businesses, and the public. When it comes to helping you find your next home, investment, or commercial space, the Connie and Amanda team is here for you.
At WCHC, our goal is to take great care of our patients and our staff.
We are able to approach you, take care of your issues, but also give you a path, as far as referrals or treating you right then and there.
Our role in the community is taking care of something that matters to everyone. It's their family and their health.
More than you expect for your health care.
Welcome back, Southeast Iowa Union Prep Sports Plus, powered by Fairway. Jack, Andy, we are both so awake and ready to go, and just all...
I'm caffed up.
Caffed up, that's right. You don't see either of us yawning, or neither of us secretly have a cover draped all over them, just out of focus from the camera. We're definitely not feeling it today. But we were at some pretty late volleyball games last night. Let's see. I'll talk about the one I was at first. Let's start with the big schools. So Fairfield hosted the Burlington Greyhounds. Let me tell you about this one, Jack. We know, because we've seen, that Fairfield, Washington, and Mount Pleasant and Burlington are kind of set to really battle. They're about as good as each other. And I saw one that felt like almost felt like a tournament game last night. It's kind of funny when you think that technically these SEC games, because of the way it's set up, they barely really mean anything at all. But 5-set win for the Fairfield Trojans. They win 20-25, 25-22. Oop, lost the line score for a second. Hold on. I was about to run through the line score. 20-25, 25-22. I'm going to have to do it by memory. 20-25, 26-24, 16-14. Look at that brain of mine. Which means they traded out. They were down 0-1. They came back, won the second one, 1-1. Then they were down 2-1. Then, in set 4, Jack, Fairfield was up by 9 points and blew that lead, and then was down 23-20, and it was looking like it was all over but the crying. And Fairfield digs down deep, pulls out the fourth set, 26-24, and then takes a wild fifth set, 16-14, to beat Burlington, to hand Burlington its first SEC loss, to get right back in kind of the race themselves. We know that Washington has had the tough schedule with playing Fairfield and Mount Pleasant early, and they both beat them. So it's I think that right now the fight might be for that second top 2 spot, to see if you can position yourself with the better seeds with this tournament coming up. But Fairfield, let me read you off the kill list here. 20 kills for Leah Helmick, 15 for Natalie Steele, who is currently playing some tennis right now. Unless she's got a bye, I'll be there after I record this. 10 for Elise Edistrom, 9 for Maddie Martin, and it was just a game that really had the crowd was into it. The Burlington crowd was into it. They were so into it where even the parents were like stomping on the bleachers to make more noise. The officials had a tough game they didn't have a tough game. They had a tough game to officiate because there were a lot of close calls and they were getting it. I would say, especially from the visiting crowd, they were definitely hearing about it when the call didn't go the way that people wanted it to. And it was, there was some controversy on the scoreboard. There's some controversy on this and that. Anyway, also another player that had a big game for Fairfield was Jaden Haynes. Had 7 kills and a few big blocks, and she actually took the game losing spike for Burlington went into the net and then rocked her in the face. And so she was talking about it after the game. Said she had to like shake it off before she even realized that her teammates were all jumping on each other and celebrating. So huge win for Fairfield, especially just momentum wise in the SEC. And they have a really tough one on Thursday night against Williamsburg at home. Williamsburg's ranked, but big one there. And then, tell me about now the other two teams, Washington and Mount Pleasant, were both in Lee County playing against teams that have struggled a little bit this year. Tell me how
Washington, they beat Keokuk, and you mentioned that. There he's back. He's back. I'm looking at the screen next to me.
Was I frozen on yours too?
You were, but you're back. You're back. Washington. So first and foremost, on Monday, they played Pella Christian in a little non-conference action. It was at home, so it was streamed on the Southeast Iowa Video Network. I called it, and it was a hell of a match. It was a 5-setter. That was Washington's first 5-setter of the year. 22-25, 25-23, 21-25. So they went 2-1 down, 25-17, and then 15-9 in the 5th set to beat Pella Christian. Really gritty win. They kind of had to adjust on the fly. It's obviously a team they don't see all that often, if at all. That's kind of what Aaron Six, their coach, talked about afterward. They figured out kind of how to put pressure on them, back in their rotations offensively. Kind of the usual suspects were good for Washington. Leighton Messenger had 15 kills, Layla Green 14. They pulled out a big win there, and then they went to Keokuk off of that and won a lot more handily. 3-0, swept Keokuk 25-20, 25-20, and 25-9 in the 3rd set. And with that victory, Andy, you talked about the standings. Washington, interestingly, is sort of in control of not only first, but potentially second in the SEC in the regular season, because you mentioned it. They've already played Fairfield and Mount Pleasant, who are both 2-1 in the conference because of the losses to Washington. And then Burlington is 2-1 after Fairfield beat them last night, which means Washington at 3-0 is now in sole possession of first place in the conference and can probably, because they've played Mount Pleasant and Fairfield already, ride it out potentially to get that first overall seed in the tournament. They play Burlington on the road September 23rd, and now that game has implications where essentially if Washington wins, they will probably to keep the regular season crown. I'm not even sure if mathematically anyone can catch them at that point. They'd have to lose to either Fort Madison or I forget who else they have to play after that. But they can control their own destiny. But also if they beat Burlington and drop Burlington, give Burlington a second loss in the conference, that could potentially pave the way for Mount Pleasant or Fairfield to jump into second and take that other seed. And it's just Fort Madison that Washington has to play other than Burlington. So that was a big result with Burlington beating Fairfield. It kind of allows Washington to get in the driver's seat. But another good match for Washington against Keokuk. Messenger and Green, 31 of the team's 50 kills. Taylor Micksh had 5 aces from the service line against Keokuk as well. So 2 big wins for Washington. It's really funny because you look at the conference standings and you have 10-6 Mount Pleasant, 10-6 Fairfield, 16-6 Burlington, But then at the top is a 7-7 Washington team that has 3 of their 7 wins all in conference play. So they have shown up. They've played a lot of really good teams this year. And I think that 5-setter against Pella Christian is going to go a long way for them in terms of handling the SEC varsity tournament, and then obviously the actual Southeast Conference volleyball tournament. They have a couple of tournaments before that. They'll play at the West Liberty volleyball tournament this weekend. Cedar Rapids, Kennedy, Danville, Muscatine, and West Liberty will also be there. So chance to get some more good reps in before that. Those last 2 SEC games against Burlington and Fort Madison.
For sure. And yeah, you said it. The thing with the regular season of the SEC is just getting, if you get the 1 or the 2, then it doesn't, you play the same teams during the 2-day round robin, but they make it so you're in that very last game, which usually is the de facto championship. Now, some years there are 2 teams that are so much better than everybody else that the whole thing is moot. The whole thing is moot. That's not quite what it is this year, but I'm excited. The SEC volleyball tournament is going to be cool because it's going to be a lot of tight ones. Mount Pleasant was at Fort Madison last night. I don't have the final stats here, but I got the final scores. They won in 4, 25-19, 26-28, 25-18, 25-16. So besides that second set, they rolled in Fort Madison. The significant part of that is that Alex Scott was not playing last night. She was out with I think she had a little twisted ankle, and so they rested her last night. And so if you can beat if you can win a conference game on the road without your arguably your top girl, at least top 2, pretty big for Mount Pleasant. And now we're got to be getting close to this Mount Pleasant Fairfield game. That's really the last beacon of our teams playing against each other in the SEC until the tournament. Let me see here. Next SEC game for Mount Pleasant. Called it. Fairfield. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, Mount Pleasant Fairfield have already played twice in tournament. They play on Saturday again at a tournament, this time at a time one. Then on the 23rd, which is a week from yesterday, they will play in the next SEC game. That is against Fairfield at Mount Pleasant. And then Mount Pleasant also still has to play Burlington. So if Mount Pleasant is going to try and sneak into that second spot, they have to beat these next 2 teams to get there. So, and of course, as we say, or a good reminder that I always have to say and remind myself is that you could lose every single regular season game of the SEC volleyball season and still be the SEC champions by way of the tournament. So it's just your schedule's just different. With the thing, you play the other teams first. Anyway, by the way, that SEC tournament, not as far away as you'd think. Day 1 is on the 6th in Burlington, so we're a couple weeks away. And then Jack,
that's the regular season one, though, isn't it?
No, there's 2. So it's a 2-day tournament, the SEC tournament. It's all round robin. They just play at 2 sites, and so the first day is the 6th in Burlington.
Oh, and then they just wait.
And then they wait a week, and then a week later they finish out the round robin in Keokuk. So what happens is you get a day 1 where everyone's at the same gym and they're playing each other, and some teams play 2 and some teams play 3. And so you have like a day 1 standings, and then you finish out. And so it's just, it's a lot. And they always play in 2 gyms, and this year it just happens to be Burlington and Keokuk. So, here we go. I don't remember the last time. It's a rotation. I don't remember what happened the last time they're in Keokuk for day 2, but I was there for sure. Of course, it would have been like 6 years ago. So, man, I don't know. Last year, it ended up in. Did it end in Burlington last year? Maybe. I'm trying to think. I remember Washington celebrating. I remember interviewing Washington after they won. Where the heck was I? Who knows? I think I was in Burlington. All these schools just run together for me. My favorite is there was one year, like 4 years ago, Mount Pleasant was like 3rd or 4th in the regular season, and they upset somebody in the round robin, and they didn't play in the last game. And it was a situation where I think it was they were cheering for Fort Madison to lose, And if they lost the last game, then Mount Pleasant won the conference, and then Fort Madison lost the last game. So Mount Pleasant watched themselves win the conference because of the way it all works out, which was kind of a funny.
That's wild.
Which is kind of a funny. Yeah, it is funny when it turns into that. But then there's tiebreakers and all that stuff. Anyway, you were at a small school game last night.
I was indeed.
Ooh.
There's a quick small school roundup on the volleyball side. I was at Highland. They played Pekin. It was the Panthers that actually went in there and got a win in 4 sets. Some pretty impressive play. I talked to their coach afterwards. She was pretty excited to get a win. I believe it was just their 3rd or 4th of the year. So something to build off of. They beat Highland too for the first time in 6 years.
Oh, wow.
I will give credit though. Highland, they have my favorite student section setup of the season so far because they put a little table. They all wore headsets and had a sign that said ESPN Sports, which I just thought was great. And some of them were pretending. I think they had someone with a computer with just NFL highlights because in the corner of my ear, I heard Russell Wilson hands it off to Marshawn Lynch, touchdown Seattle. And then I heard another one that was like, I think a Drew Brees to Michael Thomas touchdown. So I think they were just calling football games in the corner.
I saw this. First off, one day those will say Southeast Iowa Live instead of ESPN on their little fake things. But I was at Holy Trinity, New London, which it was this huge game, and it was it was either at Holy Trinity, but Holy Trinity student section had one of those. And I think maybe a ball flew and it hit something. And I was sitting there taking pictures, and all of a sudden I just heard a crash, and the entire table just collapsed, and students were going.
Geez.
It was very, very funny. And so then they got rid of the table. And anyway, so yeah.
Yeah. So the credit to the Husky student section. Unfortunately, they were not successful on the court that night. But a couple other results. Louisa Muscatine beat Hillcrest 3-2. That was a big win actually for Louisa Muscatine. Hillcrest having a really good season. Columbus beat Waco 3-0 in a little all-union area battle. There, Wapello 3-0 win over Winfield Mount Union. Van Buren County beat West Burlington in 5 sets. And then I'm still waiting for the results for Cardinal Centerville and New London Danville. Those haven't been posted just yet.
Interesting. They'll probably be posted here in the next couple hours. Well, that's all we got for volleyball, friends. When we get back, we're going to tell you a little bit about Jack's first cross-country meet and also the SEC tennis tournament, which happened a couple days ago. So actually happened like 5 days ago. Stick with us.
Attention Hy-Vee shoppers, introducing Hy-Vee Perks, your ticket to exclusive savings and rewards. Access exclusive perks, prices, earn gas discounts, and unlock special deals. All this for free. Join Hy-Vee Perks today and start saving.
At Seafirst Credit Union, we're all about making connections, like how we connect you to that dream vacation with a savings account designed to help get you on the flight there. Connect with Seafirst today and see why together is better.
Hey, you want to see something really scary?
3, chill, and things that go bump in the night. The Russians' House of Terror. Family-friendly Halloween treat. Visit the Midwest Haunted Rail. Unlimited rides on the Ghost Train, trolley, and carousel, blow-ups, and carnival ride, all for one low price. Kids 4 and under free. Scare up some fun at Midwest Haunted Rails, McMillan Park, Mount Pleasant.
In the heart of rural Iowa, where community matters most, the connections we make are made to last. Meet KCTC, your hometown internet, phone, and TV provider. At KCTC, we're not just about technology, we're about people. Our dedicated team are your neighbors, committed to bringing you top-tier services right where you live. We believe in giving back to the community that raised us. Experience the power of a real connection with KCTC. Join us in building a stronger, more connected Southeast Iowa.
Southeast Iowa Union Prep Sports Plus. We got a little cross country. We got a little tennis. I want to start with the cross country because Jack was able to have his first time at Waterworks Park in Fairfield. Beautiful course in Waterworks Park, Fairfield, Iowa. I've spent lots of hours at Waterworks Park watching people run. Who were our big winners from Thursday's cross country night, Jack?
Yeah, it was really fun. You're right. Really nice course. They kind of run around a lake there, which is pretty cool, and run through some woods, which I'm sure was nice because it was hot, especially coming around waiting by the finish line, which is all just kind of in an open field. Really the only open part of the course. It's warm. I was sweating just standing there, and so I can't imagine how they were doing with running. But the big winners individually, who else, Andy? Avery Fedler won on the girls' side for Mount Pleasant. She just continues to have a super standout freshman season. 19-11-56 was her score. Talked with her after. She was just kind of like focused on talked about the course conditions, the heat. There were like these big acorns all around the course. People were like kind of interacting with those. I heard, kind of people chatting about them that was a problem. Talked about that, but she won again. Mount Pleasant as a team took 6th in the Class 3A, 4A team scoring. Avery Fedler won on the boys or on the girls' side, and then on the boys' side, it was Van Buren County. Their big day on the course. They swept the boys and girls team races for 1A, 2A, and Lincoln Bainbridge with a 17:01.4 led the way for the boys team. I was kind of at the halfway point of the race taking pictures, and the top 3, it was all of them together coming around the first lap. And it was him, Andrew Reese from Washington, and Riley Tripp from Fort Madison. They were all together. And then by the end of the race, Bainbridge got out to a pretty steady lead. So credit to him. He kind of said that this year, this cross country, it's all kind of nitpicky, right? He said, he's only kind of been running like 2.8, 2.9 mile courses. This one was the first one that was like their first true like 3.1. Mm-hmm. And he said he was been working on his second mile, and he was a lot faster with that one. So credit to him, credit to Van Buren County. Fort Madison swept the results for boys and girls 3A, 4A. They had 33 points. Washington finished second with 63 points. They also finished second in the boys with 59. Andrew Reese overall had a 4th place finish. Jack Shepard finished 12th for Washington. On the girls' side for the Demons, Iris Dahl finished 5th overall. Cora Miller came in 9th. So pretty good day for Washington. And a couple of other team scores just from our schools. Cardinals there, they finished 3rd in 1A. 2A for the girls. Who else did we have? On the 3A, 4A, like I said, Washington finished 2nd. Mount Pleasant was 6th in the scoring. On the boys' side, VBC won it. Hillcrest finished 3rd in the boys, 1A, 2A. Cardinal 4th. Highland finished 7th. And then 3A, 4A, Washington, I mentioned, was 2nd. Fairfield 5th. Mount Pleasant also 6th on the boys' side in 3A, 4A in the team scoring. So some pretty good results. A ton of our teams are there. It was really fun to cover. I talked to Van Buren County's coach. She actually coaches the boys and the girls, which is, pretty impressive. Lucinda DeHart. And she said they're having kind of a magical season. They've won. I think they've each won boys and girls 2 meets, and so they're doing really well. I will also give Lincoln Bainbridge some credit. Definitely the best drip I saw from any of the runners. He had little lightning bolt earrings, which I think is the most perfect thing ever. Yeah, I respected the drip.
He looks cool when he's running, that's for sure.
Which is hard to do. That's not easy. I mean, I like to run, and I probably look like a gremlin. Like you can't. It's hard to pull off. So yeah, to have the swag and still win the race. That's respect that.
It is. I believe that was also his 2nd straight at Fairfield, because I remember I talked to him last year, which obviously we usually would talk to whoever is so he could have gotten beat by a kid we don't. But I think he might have won the small schools last year too. So he good season ahead for him. And lastly, Jack, I had some tennis last week, all the way last Wednesday, right after we recorded this show. Oops, I was going to pull it up here. Now, the tennis SEC season, we already talked about how Fairfield won as a team. This is just the SEC singles and doubles tournament. So all you're doing is going for singles and doubles glory. It was held at Burlington High School. Great courts, by the way, at Burlington High School. They're right there out at the school, and really, really nice setup. It looks really good. They just kind of got that. If I could, here we go. We only had one SEC champion. It was the doubles team of Rhea Ross and Surya Yamaner, who did not lose a set in doubles. They swept through. They ended up playing the same Burlington team that they had played in their duel with Burlington on Thursday. For the championship, won 6-4, 6-4, which was closer than the last time they played. But I believe that they will be playing. I believe when I show up to Tennessee, they'll probably be Fairfield's #1 doubles team. If anybody doesn't know, in tennis, you can't qualify at state for singles and doubles. You can't be the SEC champion of both. You either play singles or play doubles. So I would guess that they're probably going to be the #1 doubles team for Fairfield when I get there. Doubles wise, the other top team, Bella Dodds and Lila Cook for Mount Pleasant got 5th. There was an all Mount Pleasant showdown. Oh, sorry. Marion Duncan and Faven Gaber Merriam ended up getting 3rd, and then that Mount Pleasant team took 5th. And then the second Mount Pleasant team took 6th. In singles, they were Pujita Mukadam, who is the defending champion, could not was absent. And so that took out your probable #1 ranked player. Natalie Steele ended up the #1 seed. She played the #2 seed from Keokuk, Nevaeh Logan, in the championship. They've had a couple battles. They had a really long battle in the regional tournament last year, which feels like last week because it was just this spring. Steele swept through all the games until then, but ends up falling, same score, 6-4, 6-4 in the championship. So Steele gets 2nd for Fairfield, and nobody else got top 5 for Fairfield or Mount Pleasant in that one. So now, after I finish up all the stories here, I will be running to the singles and doubles state tournament. So check our Twitter at Union Sports page. Maybe I've tweeted out by now when you're watching this that we have one or more people going to the state tournament. Reminder, Fairfield has 2 returners from the state tournament. Mukadam and Steele will be playing a lot of the same girls that they just played this spring to try and go back to state. And by the way, Rhea Ross was 3rd in that this spring. Now she's playing doubles, I believe. I'm just assuming on this that they're going to stick with the same thing. But anyway, blah, blah, blah. That's all it is. That's all we got. That's tennis. That's cross country. That's volleyball. That's football. Breaking NFL news. Justin Fields out this Sunday. Just got that on my phone. Got that 100 times on my phone because I have them so many times.
Oh, that's both of my quarterbacks in my league with 2 quarterbacks hurt. I had Joe Burrow. Also, I just want to say for tennis, and actually speaking of football, it's connected. We should start it at the professional ranks and then trickle it down. I think because you mentioned you can't go to state for both singles and doubles. I think you should allow that. Make it like a Travis Hunter. I want to see Carlos Alcaraz win Wimbledon singles and doubles. I know doubles for tennis, it doesn't get as much hype as singles at the top of the top level. But it'd be fun if you started incorporating that where this guy wins. This player wins singles and doubles at a major tournament, and then see if start a revolution of two-way tennis players.
Yeah, because the Williams sisters did go back and forth a little bit, right? Sometimes they had a couple. I remember them playing doubles together, and then all of a sudden they were only singles players for so long.
Yeah. I mean, singles. I'm sure you make more money because it's just the most popular competition.
Definitely, and you make double the money. But my prediction. And this is kind of a good guess prediction because I talked to Travis, wait a minute, Travis Duncan. I almost called him Travis Hunter. I don't know. My brain.
You're talking about two-way players. That's
you
why.
said the word Travis. Yeah, you said Travis Hunter, and so I was like, oh wait a minute, that's not his name. Travis Duncan, the coach for Fairfield. Before, I talked to him at their last regular season, and he kind of had said that it's probably going to be Ross and Yamaner as the top doubles, and then have those 2 singles girls. And I assume that Mount Pleasant will stick with Lila Cook and Bella Dodds in doubles, which seems like their best shot. But there are a lot of good teams at this, so nothing is a given today. So by the time you watch this, it'll be over. That's all we got, folks. Stick with us this weekend. If you're not at the games, you turn on that YouTube and watch Southeast Iowa Live, Mount Pleasant Live for the Washington and Mount Pleasant football games. Even if you are, watch them on replay. Share them with all your friends. Share this with all your friends.
Just put the stream on in the stands.
Yes.
Well, but do it on your data and not the Wi-Fi, so that we.
Yeah. Don't do it on the Wi-Fi. Don't do it on the Wi-Fi. They don't get the Wi-Fi password. I know that for a fact. Hey, I saw. I remember sitting at Washington softball this year, and your voice was ringing out in some people's pockets because they chose to have the broadcast on as they watched the game live.
Love it. I actually got a thank you from a Pella Christian parent for broadcasting that. We've got some grandparents watching. I was like, well, I'm glad. I'm sorry I was not, we were being Washington homers, but it is a Washington broadcast. So
that reminds me, Fairfield people out there, you're playing at Knoxville. Go Knoxville TV will have your game this week.
Promoting outside organizations, Peter. Can't have that.
No, there are inspiration. They ran so we could walk.
No, I'm just kidding. Shout out to them.
Yeah, you're right. But you're right. Hey, if anybody has any Central DeWitt or Oskaloosa fans, text them right now and tell them, hey, you need to turn on the stream. That's all we got. When will we see them, Jack? Indubitably, that's all we got. We'll see you guys. Touchdown. Whoever the Jets backup, Tyrod Taylor. Touchdown, Tyrod Taylor.
My God.
Put in if you like to bet units on sports, anytime rushing touchdown, maybe it'd be nice to put it in right now. They probably already paused it. And
my two fantasy quarterbacks are now Jake Browning and Daniel Jones. Shout out Danny Dimes.
Nice. Two guys who could get benched in the second quarter because they're not playing.
Two players who play quarterback.
Nice. Anyway, peace out, everyone. See you on the courts.
Bye-bye.